LangGraph and Claude Agent SDK are the two popular agentic development frameworks. And in this video, we are going to do a hands-on comparison between both of them. Very exciting. So let's see on how we are going to compare them. I'm going to take a use case which is related to startup due diligence system. It means that we are going to create a startup memo, some description about the startup, and then we are going to send this information to three agents: the market researcher, a financial analyst, and a risk assessor. And all these agents are going to pass the information to a report writer agent, which is then going to produce the final result. So let us see on how to develop these startup due diligence agentic systems with LangGraph and also with Claude SDK. So you will first of all need different large language model keys. I'm going to use an OpenAI large language model key for the LangGraph agent, and I'm going to use the Anthropic key for the Claude agent. We have to make some imports, LangChain as well as Anthropic for the Claude agent SDK. And let us now see the different prompts which are going to be involved. So this is the startup idea. It is all around the Legal Mind AI, which is a SaaS platform to use AI to automate legal document. And then you have the market research prompt, you have the financial prompt, you have the risk prompt, and you also have the writer prompt. Now let us first start with the LangGraph. So in LangGraph, you can define all the different agents, and all these different agents can work in parallel. That is the beauty of LangGraph. So you start all these agents in parallel. When the work of all these three agents is finished, it is then passed on to the report writer, which is going to make the final report, and the system is going to end. Now you have to define a state graph where you are putting all the key attributes what you need in this agentic system. You need the startup memo, you need the market research, financial analysis, risk assessment, and the final investment memo. Here we are going to use the OpenAI large language model GPT-4o mini, and then you have to define different nodes. So here, this is the node for the market research agent. Each node, it takes information from the state variable, what we have defined over here. So in this case, it is going to take the market prompt. It is then going to execute and send this information to large language model, and the information which is returned is going to be saved in the market research key of the state variable. In a similar way, you are also defining the financial analysis node, which is again going to save the response back to the financial analysis of the state graph. The same thing you are also doing for the risk analysis, and then you have the report writer node, which is reading the state variable. It is going to read all the different information which has been sent by the different agents in this state variable. It is going to make a synthesis, and it is again going to send all this information to the writer prompt, which is then going to produce the final investment memo, which is again going to be stored in the state variable. Now let us build the graph. So here you need to define the state graph, and then you have to add all the agents as nodes. And then you also add different edges between all these agents. So because we want to execute all the agents in parallel, you start from the start node, and then you add an edge between the start node and the market research start node and the financial analysis start node and the risk assessor. And then you also add an edge between all these agents to the report writer, and the report writer is going to then send the information to the end node. You can compile this graph, and you can also visualize this graph. As you can see that we start and then we run all these three sub-agents in parallel, which is the beauty of LangGraph. When the work is finished, all these agents are going to send the information to the report writer, which is then going to produce the final output, and the graph is going to end. Now you can run this graph, and you will see that all the different agents start in parallel, and the total work done is completed in 11 seconds. We'll see if Claude SDK can beat this or not. Now you can also use different information which is available in the state graph to produce the final output. So this is the final output which has been produced by the writer agent, and the agent has done a fantastic job. It has done a very good analysis to analyze this legal startup proposal. Now let us see on how Claude is going to do the same thing. Now Claude doesn't run all the agents in parallel. It is going to run all the agents sequentially. As you can see that we are defining a run Claude specialist where we are going to pass different system prompts as well as tasks, and we are going to use the Claude model to execute the response to the large language model. So here this is the Claude orchestrator where we have to run each agent in a sequential fashion. So here we have the market research agent which is going to run. Afterwards we are going to run the financial analysis agent, the risk assessment agent, and then we are going to take the output of all these agents and then we are going to combine it into a synthesis object which is then going to be sent again to the writer prompt to execute and make the final answer. Now as you can see that here we are not defining any nodes, we are not defining any graphs. The agents are simple Python functions. So from a coding point of view, it is much more easier, but all these agents are going to run sequential. There is no parallelization in the Claude Agent SDK. So when you execute the Claude Agent SDK, you will see that the total time taken is 27 seconds, which is more than the 11 seconds of LangGraph. And the reason is that all the agents here have executed in a sequence and not in a parallel fashion. Of course, you obtain the different output, and here also the output is also quite impressive. You have detailed analysis of the startup, and you also have all the information which has been provided for this particular startup. Now let us do a side-by-side comparison, and here you will see that the execution time for LangGraph is much smaller than the Claude Agent SDK, but the number of lines which we have to write in LangGraph is much more compared to the Claude Agent SDK. Also for orchestration and parallelism, we have these features which are available in LangGraph, but in Claude SDK it is a sequential execution. So as you can see also that the learning curve is medium. You have to understand how the different nodes work, how to connect all the different nodes in a graph. But for Claude Agent SDK, it is just simple Python function, so the learning curve is low. So let us now see on what are the key takeaways. So you can choose LangGraph where you have to execute different agents in parallel. Also, if there is complex logic related to conditional branching, and you can use Claude Agent SDK where you want to prototype something quickly. You just do not have to consider a lot of nodes and graphs. You just simply have to code in simple Python functions. So the final conclusion is that if you want to produce a very complex agentic architecture, then in that case LangGraph is good, but you will incur some coding overhead. But if your use case is simple, in that case you can go for the Claude SDK. Both are going to produce excellent results, but you can choose the framework based on your specific use case. So if you like this video, please like it, please subscribe, and please follow. And also give in a comment on which other use cases, what you have in Agentic AI, and which specific framework you think will be useful for your use case. Thank you for watching and see you soon in the next video.